It's Wizards versus Lesbians, a podcast for your ears. Hello and welcome to Wizards versus Lesbians. My name is Isaac.
I'm Alexis.
And today we are discussing Lolly Willowes, or The Loving Huntsman by Sylvia Townsend Warner.
Yes.
Would you like to do the plot?
So I really don't want to spoil what happens in the third act, even in this very spoiler positive podcast.
Yes. Weirdly, in this book from 1926, I
Right.
feel like it's more important than usual for you not to know anything about this book before you go in. So we're going to be particularly stringent before the spoiler zone this time.
Yes, having, what we are seeking, which just came out, it's fine if we spoil, but God forbid we spoil this book from the 1920s. So I'm just going to say that it is about a spinster who spends basically her entire life doing escalating things to try to avoid having to be completely dominated by her extended family. And eventually she achieves, she seems to find a strategy that seems to work for her.
Yes, that works very well. Yeah, we're following the life of a normal woman from the mid 19th century through to the 1920s, and seeing it's sort of a look into the life of a spinster
For a given value of normal.
Yes, I was using the term normal very advisedly there. But yes, so we'll go with that. Are there lesbians in this book?
I think that there's actually a reading of this book where Lolly is a lesbian.
I would say so, for a number of reasons. I will, based on what is actually in the text, she is more, there is one instance of her being interested, physically in a woman, which is more than there is of her being physically interested in any men. So
right.
we'll take that. We'll take that. That's what you're getting here.
Yes. There's a better reading of her as lesbian than there is of her as straight.
Yes. Probably the best reading is some sort of murky gray, modern identity that they did not even have a notion of in the 1920s. But is there a wizard?
Well, yes, actually.
Yes, in fact, there's one of the big wizards in this book. So,
which again, we cannot say more.
Yeah. so it does interrogate Wizards versus Lesbians themes, I would say.
Yes.
Wizards versus Lesbians themes are very present in this book.
Yes. So I can't remember who recommended this to us, but thank you. Moonmilk. Thank you, Moonmilk, for recommending this to us.
Yes, Moonmilk, one of our most consistent recommenders. Thank you so much. So, why should you read this book?
It's short and entertaining.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It is. It's beautifully written. I think there are some really excellent turns of phrase in here. It is of historical interest, I think. This is a book that emerged out of the London Bloomsbury scene about 3 or 4 years before Virginia Woolf made her big splash, and you can really tell. If you're interested in a like a smaller and weirder in a way, obviously Virginia Woolf is quite weird in her own way, but weird in a different sort of way, in an unexpected way, look into that period and the sort of the stuff that was bubbling under and fomenting there, particularly with regards to, feminism in literature. This is a really interesting text. But on top of that, as you said, it's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, and I mean, also, I think that you can also offer this up as a proto cottagecore gay text.
Absolutely, and finding problems with it even then, much like
and finding problems with it
sun.
even then. So
yeah, and so I honestly, as we said, I think that I do recommend reading this one, and I would recommend skipping the introduction and trying to go into it with as little as possible. So if you have any interest in it, based on what we've said so far, maybe stop now even and go ahead and check it
don't
out.
don't look it up. Just read it. It'll only take you a few hours.
Yep. Why shouldn't you read it?
The plot is extremely meandering. Most of the I guess that's it. Like it's
It's not
like a lot of literature, like a lot of sort of literature from before the 1950s. A lot of the things about pacing and structure weren't really as widely codified, I guess. So
for better or worse, honestly.
For better or worse. No, I mean I actually enjoy this, and I think that we're seeing an increasing interest in things like nonlinear storytelling as a way of pushing back against the idea that everything has to be save the cat. But I'm just noting, if you're expecting a conventional narrative arc, you're not going to get one. And to the extent that there is one, it pretty much all happens in the third act. Until then, it's just sort of a lot of meandering family history about some relatively well-off, but not fantastically so, British people.
The majority of this book reads like a standard 19th century English novel, albeit maybe a little bit funnier and spikier in places.
Yeah.
So I think that you do have to have tolerance for that. It helps if you actively enjoy that kind of thing, but
if you don't, you've got to at least have tolerance for a lot of just a lot of information about like which house ends up becoming the family country manor.
Right. So you do have to go into. I feel like for a reader of the time, this would have been a lulling into a false sense of security kind of a thing, but it certainly doesn't work that way for a modern reader. So
I mean, it kind of does.
It kind of does, honestly.
If you've read, like if you've read enough, and you don't have to have even been an English major, I think, to have read enough pre-20th century British lit to get a sense of what this is, to get a turns out entirely incorrect sense of what kind of book this is.
Yes, I would say so. But so if that stuff just bores you to tears on first contact, then maybe you shouldn't read this. But other than that, I think that again, it's quite short. It goes pretty fast, and I think that it's really delightful in terms of its prose. So
yeah, I agree. No, I had a lot of fun with this.
Content warnings,
not really.
Not really. Little bit of sort of the classic early feminist trope of being like women are exactly like enslaved black people.
Oh yeah.
Which we'll get back to, but yeah, no, I don't think that I want to do any beyond that.
Nope.
So, having said that, let's head to the spoiler zone and talk about this book.
Spoiler zone.
Okay, are you sure you want to keep going? Spoilers are going to start right now. Satan! 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 Satan!
So, Satan.
Satan. I was so delighted when Satan showed up. I really was.
This is why I told you couldn't read the introduction, because I wanted you to have the joy of Satan just showing up and and of her going to the witches Shabbat and Sabbath, and
on the one hand, I like the idea of a witch's Shabbat. On the other, I don't know if a Jewish witch could have Laura's relationship with Satan.
I love that, she decides she's going to become a witch. She has these like coincidental things that look kind of like maybe she's casting curses on her family. She has her familiar, and then she goes to the witch's Sabbath, and she's like, actually, I don't like any of these people either.
It's so good. It's so funny. I love it so much.
Except for the hot redhead. She feels a little bit of a tingle when she dances with the hot redhead.
Yes. No, it's like maybe a little bit of the debauchery I'm into, but just a little bit. The whole thing, unfortunately, I think it's beneath the dignity of Satan. I have my own understanding of Satan, and I think he's a lot cooler than what your understanding of Satan is. Like, I'm a real Satan head. These guys are kind of cringe. Because I've come to my own personal relationship with Satan through a lot of introspection, you see. It's not about the community for me. It's about like a real personal relationship with Satan.
And then she like goes back to London to visit her family, wanders off somewhere, and then just like hangs out with Satan for a couple hours.
So that they can have I'm going to explain to you what the book is about denouement, which is my favorite kind of denouement.
Right.
It's like,
especially when again it's just like her and Satan hanging out on some touristy garden.
Yeah, well, specifically the grave of a renowned Satanist who is real. I've actually listened to a podcast about this guy.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, no, that he's a real dude.
Apparently Sir Ralph Mulgrave was not in fact real, but I still think he was based on a real person, and I simply can't remember who. I heard about him on a podcast at some point. I think it was the Bad Gays podcast. Surely it wasn't Lord Byron.
Again, she feels like his extremely satanic and well-kept grave is like a bit much. It's a bit tasteless. And she's like, why are people like this into my Blorbo Satan, and how do I reconcile that? I think warlocks are I don't remember the exact phrase that she uses. Like,
oh yeah, she has the whole thing about how like warlocks are cringe and like the real Satanists are witches.
Yeah, no, Satan is for women. Warlocks are kind of beside the point as far as she is concerned. She really makes that point.
She says, I can't take warlocks so seriously, not as a class. It is we witches who count. We have more need for you.
Yes. Which is delightful in so many ways.
Yeah, she's lecturing Satan about Satanists.
There is absolutely an element of self-satire going on here, which, like,
yes,
even though I think that there's a lot of very earnest stuff about it's very a room of one's own. It's very much coming out of the same social milieu as Virginia Woolf, but there is absolutely a concomitant sense of humor and sense of the absurd going on here, which just makes it, which just gives it a little something extra particularly to a modern reader, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because like part of the joy of Satan showing up in this is that the author, the author does not, the authorial voice is not making a very good case that, this is not actually preaching Satan, not even in like the modern Satanist, oh, he's the ultimate rebel. He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a jerk, and so is she. And it's just, it is clear that she's going to do whatever it takes to escape her family. And since moving to Postcard Town didn't work,
she is the literal loving huntsman, or he rather is the literal loving huntsman from the title. But it is not meant. The fact that he is a loving huntsman does not change the fact that he is a huntsman. And there is very much anything is better than being stuck in this like middle class purgatory. Where I
think they're pretty upper class. Or they're not like,
I'm using middle class in the English sense here, which means upper class. But yes,
that's fair. I mean, I guess they're not supposed to be gentry because they bought their land.
Yeah, no, they're sort of upwardly mobile people.
That was several generations ago, so like they're trying to transition into being upper class.
Part of the satire, like part of the thing that she's reacting so badly to, I think, is this family's social positioning, which is like they care a lot about their lineage and their traditions, but are in fact all kind of embarrassing about it and not actually important. And her brother in particular is like, stock market stuff and his like, newspaper reading and we're in London to do business with businessmen stuff. That's all part of the overpowering cringe that she feels.
Yes. Well, it doesn't help that he loses like all of her inheritance on the stock market.
Only about half of her inheritance, but he didn't ask her about investing her money in like what was it? The Ethiopia company, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, no, bad moment to be investing heavily in England's colonial future.
Yeah.
But so I want to like go through how the book reveals itself to us,
Yes.
because I know that some people will not have gone and read this, and I want them to get the sense of what the experience of going through it was like.
Yes.
You do start like firmly in the 19th century, both in terms of what's going on, of like the fact that it's literally set there, and also how the book feels. There's so much descriptions of furniture.
Yes, descriptions of furniture, descriptions of the grounds, and like and so many long digressions about lineage and establishing like it'll just go off on this long tangent about one grandparent or another.
Yeah, very particular observations about the fashions of the moment, and you're expected or not expected to know exactly what they mean. What I've written down here is my face when my Venice Point lappets dangle above the flowery bowl, which is a thing that happens. I don't know what a Venice Point lappet is, but I can picture it somehow. You don't want to get that in whatever dumplings you're making. But even then, there is a little bit of like a wink and a nod, as like one of the most prized family furniture items is a stuffed parakeet that Uncle What's His Face brought back from Africa, which has been badly restuffed, so one of its eyes kind of bulges out, and is like the one glass eye is bigger than the other one, which is
and the amount, yeah, and that like this is definitely the family heirloom that
yes.
Gets fought over.
No, it's very good. There are bits and pieces of it which both seem like they could be from a particularly good 19th century novel, and which also seem like a bit of added satire, like the fact that her dad dies of taking his coat off.
That's right.
It's just such a plot detail from a like not very good book of that time. Took his coat off in the garden, gets consumption, dies. Like, just bam. But there's also like a little bit of serious theming in there, because her mother dies essentially of being a woman, and like really not wanting to participate in her social role, and feeling like she's abdicating this social role that has been thrust upon her, to the point where she just sort of abdicates her life. And she says that it's like when she died, it was as though she just sort of got up from a boring dinner party and just left. And I think that, we're definitely getting into the theming of it there. So we follow Lolly's life. We get a few hints that there's some sort of like dark internal secret that she has. Like, what I'm thinking at this point, in particular, and I'm thinking this more and more as we go through the book, is that we're gearing up to, this book is about a woman discovering her interiority, like coming to that great revelation that she is in fact a human being in addition to being a woman, and that she is not the mannequin featureless spinster aunt which is the role that she's expected to play in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Lolly has always had a lot of interiority. This is more of her feeling like she can externalize her interiority.
I mean, her self-conception is, she's obviously like, she's very introspective, and she's bored out of her mind.
Yes.
And one of the ways in which she handles being bored out of her mind is with this current of introspection, is by shutting down, is what I was trying to get at there. But I guess it's like the idea that she could have agency is the thing that we're working up to more than because she really does, the narrative really does treat her as if she's like a passive observer to absolutely everything, including like all of her own circumstances up until
there's even the moment fairly early on where one of her nieces, who is from the war generation, is all like, You know, it's so pathetic. She just sort of sat around. She didn't do anything.
And her husband, who is meant to be like her husband who, that's her second husband. Her first husband died in the war, and she married this man, quote unquote, for patriotic reasons, which is another really great little bit of satire.
I love that line.
But he's meant to be like, Sir Anthony Biggleswaite, like, stuffed shirt. But even he is like, well, within our living memory, women weren't allowed to own property. Femme sole and femme couverte, like that.
So what was she gonna do?
What was she gonna do about it? And like this is the sort of the feminist narrative of the book, reminding you of what the stakes are and what the history is here, just as a sort of fun aside.
Mm-hmm.
But so she moves to London. She hates London. She's a country person. One of the little sort of breadcrumbs that were dropped is that when she's a kid, she really likes gathering herbs and making potions. And
yes,
not only potions but salads. Another thing that I really liked is that she really loves feeding her dad salads made of herbs that she's found, which he is skeptical of at first and then really gets into.
Right here in front of my salad. This kind of girl power goes back further than you think, and into dark places.
But then she has this moment of epiphany, when she is standing in the shop and is like, I need to move to Great Mop.
Yes, because she sees, is it a little like guidebook?
She has to go out and get the guidebook. She is in the shop with some flowers and like, having another thing that is sort of one of the breadcrumbs to her epiphany is that she likes to spend more on flowers than she probably should be spending on flowers.
Yeah, she'll just go and just regularly go and bring back a huge bouquet of nice flowers. Which
is viewed as a sort of an eccentricity by her family and not as the symptom of the giant ruction that is about to come that it should be.
Yes, well, it's also some nice foreshadowing about what her brother is doing with her money because, her brother, because she's supposed to be enough, have enough of an inheritance that she could theoretically live independently, at least somewhere cheap. And he's stressing out that she's spending money on flowers.
Yes, and they feel like alarm bells tingling over her spending money on flowers, because here's another great line: like many stupid people, they possessed acute instincts.
Yes.
This is just after a sense where Henry was like a wall and Caroline's breasts were like towers. Like they're literally her prison, including her sister, her religious sister, her Christian religious sister-in-law's boobs are, the walls of the castle hemming her in, which again, great little images.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes to this flower shop and sees like jams, and is like, oh my God, I'm having this incredible pre-rational, like, again, very sort of Virginia Woolfy or Proustian, swoon moment over these jams that I'm seeing in the shop. And I overhear the shopkeeper saying where the jams are from. And she's like, all right, I immediately have to move to that part of the country. I'm going to go directly to a shop where I can buy a map and a guidebook. I'm going to pick a village out of this guidebook, and I'm going to go and live there with the money that I think I have. Oh, I don't have it anymore? Well, I'm not going to.
I'm not giving this up. I'm just going to, instead of buying my own cottage, I will rent.
Yes, exactly. But I'm still out of here. Thank you very much. And off she goes.
And I love the dinner where she announces that she's doing this, and everyone at the table is appalled except for her favorite nephew, who's like, oh, she's doing a bit. And he gets really into it. And she's like, oh, great, I'm so glad somebody else is enjoying this. And like she spells out all of her plans. And then the next morning, everyone is like, no, wait, you were serious?
Yes, including him.
It's my favorite awkward dinner. Yes, including him, because again, he thought she was doing a bit. This is, this definitely goes into the annals of fictional dinner parties.
Yeah, no, we've collected quite a few. There were in fact a few in What We Were Seeking, which we didn't really get a chance to get into, I think.
But we mentioned that there were some Delaney-esque dinner parties.
It's true. But so at this point I'm like, okay, I have a pretty good idea of what this book is. She's going to go and get a room of her own. And then we go out into the countryside, and then the last act of the book happens.
Well, we go out into the countryside, and everything is great. And, she's making friends-ish. She's making friends who she doesn't actually have to like very much. And, she seems to have, everything seems to be working. And then her nephew moves to town because he's like, oh, what a cute little cottagecore life. This will help me, instead of having to worry about actually writing my novel, I'm just going to move here.
He's the goddamn warlock. He's the dilettante,
Yes.
And she is so infuriated by this that she goes out into the woods that have, the countryside that was all of hers, that was part of her subjectivity, has been taken from her by this shackle of her previous life. And when I say shackle, I say shackle because she, another of my favorite sentences from this book is that she has been thinking of she's been sort of luxuriating in hating her family after she's gotten here because she feels that she has escaped and spited them and is spiting them by living here. And that is like giving her a boost because she really hates them.
To be fair, she kind of is because they're all really mad that she's doing this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not, I don't think that it's, that it is suggested that she's wrong to do this. But this is from her point of view. She's thinking, well, I'm indulging myself by getting pleasure from the idea of spiting them. And the metaphor she uses is that her pleasure in having spited them is a derisive dance on the north bank of the Ohio, which is about as on the nose as I am literally an escaped slave as you can possibly get from that classic, series of feminist metaphors that you get over the years. But that's where she is. And then this guy from her old milieu shows up and immediately is better friends with everybody in the village than she is, god damn it, because he's young and charming and a writer and a Bloomsbury writer and absolutely not based on somebody that this author knows. Who's writing a book about some fucking guy, some fucking writer or philosopher that nobody cares about, but he's writing a whole book about him and it's all he talks about. And he's already getting, doing planning stuff and getting on committees at the local village. And she's so mad. Understandably, I feel.
Yes. Then she goes out and adopts a kitten and becomes a Satanist.
She goes out into the woods and is like, please get rid of this guy. And then she comes back and there's a kitten in her ass.
House. I said house.
And the kitten scratches her and she's bleeding and she's like, oh, everything in my life makes sense right now. Satan is real.
Satan is real and has chosen me to be a witch.
Yes. And he is also. And everybody in the village is also Satanists, which explains how standoffish they've been up till this point. Because she wasn't part of the group until she got the cat. And her landlady comes, who also has a familiar, comes in and checks it out and is like, okay, all right, this isn't just a stray cat because he's getting along with my cat. This is a familiar. You've been chosen. Congratulations. Let's go to the witches' Sabbath and dance around. And then, as you said before, she's like, nah, this kind of sucks too.
Yeah, she shows up and she's all excited about it. And then she's like, actually, this kind of sucks. Except, again, when she's dancing with the hot redhead girl.
Yes. I think a very brief moment, but an important one in the grand scheme of things. Also because, there may be a parallel being drawn there to... I've managed to escape my trad life. I am now in these alternative circles with all of these, interesting liberated women. And there's a frisson of lesbianism in the air here, as there was at the time, obviously, in that particular social group. I don't think that I necessarily fit in here either. However, is the feeling that I get from that passage, because I think Lolly Willowes is a very interesting character, because I think that in particular in the last part of in her dialogue with Satan at the last part of the book, she puts forward that our circumstances have made us like this. Being a woman in this society has made us like this, where embracing Satan is the only way forward for people who want to be, free or have any purview over their life. But I think that there's also an element where Lolly Willowes, or Laura Willowes, because Lolly is the infantilizing nickname that her family gives her, which is also the title of the book, which is also interesting.
Yeah.
Laura here is actually kind of a misanthrope.
She's absolutely a misanthrope.
She's actually just like I don't want to be in society, thank you. Any expectation that you have of me to follow any kind of like, life path or rule is actually an infringement on my freedom and is actually cringe and gross and sucks. Which I think goes beyond her social milieu and beyond her gender, even though that is an inextricable part of it, to just be like what she finds herself being, which is the point of the bit with the Sabbath.
Yeah.
But she's also very interested in making it about the particular feminine relationship with this world, and like there is this sort of interesting place where a desire for personal freedom overlaps with the desire for emancipation from being socially entrained. And what she wants is is to overshoot that completely and get like this absolute personal atomized autonomy where she doesn't have to deal with anybody's bullshit ever again.
Yes.
Which is a fantasy. But one that many of us, I think, can understand.
Right.
It's really interesting where the boundary lies between good socially conscious, liberation on that level, and no, actually, I want to be free of all social expectations and strictures and leave me the fuck alone, please.
Leave me the fuck alone, please, except when I'm bored.
Yes, except when I need you to entertain me.
Which is, I think, a key part of the fantasy is, that you have just the amount of socialization that you want, and it's mostly around when you are bored.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And again, I find this very, relatable.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? Well, I guess many people don't, but not me. I find this extremely relatable. And
yes, wouldn't it be great if we had if we could all just have just enough money that we didn't need to work, and we could have just enough socialization that we're never bored, but we can mostly spend all of our time reading and wandering in the woods.
Yeah. And there's obviously a class component here because she does have just enough money,
Yeah.
Through no labor of her own, obviously. And the point where you draw the line where it's like, well, I should have access to that money because a man in my family would have equal access to that money, sure. And I should have the freedom to do absolutely anything that I want with it. Okay. And that's the end of that thought.
Right. Just for all of this talk of the position of women in the book, she's got a landlady. She's dependent on the labor of other women.
Yes. Well, she shouldn't have been raised to be this sort of not quite an aristocrat, upwardly mobile person, and then not given the freedom that comes with that position because it's given her ideas. Mm-hmm. It's given her unrealistic expectations of the world and this resentment over not being able to have the fruits of those unreasonable expectations, which then have led her into the arms of Satan himself.
I'm ready to sell out, particularly to Satan.
One of the in relation to this, one of the interesting things that I liked is that there is a point in the book where she's having her overflowing moment of resentment, since Titus, or Tito as he was called when he was a kid, which I also thought was pretty funny, has come to town, and she is like, I have been subject to the blandishments of all of these institutions that go through the patriarchy, the Central Bank of London, everything that she finds gross and cringe in the world, and also prostitution is just in that list. And I'm like, have you been personally affected by prostitution in any
way?
What's that doing in here? I mean, I know
right?
that we're going for a sort of a broadly gendered consciousness of injustice in the world, but also the other institutions there were more cringe than oppressing you directly. And it's you just find the idea of prostitution to be kind of, uncouth in the same way that you do the rest of these things.
I mean, yeah, because she is still a product of her time in society.
Yes. In addition to just being funny that it's in there, I mean, there are a lot of jokes in this book that are just jokes. Segway.
So even though I think most of the really interesting stuff happens in part 3, I do kind of enjoy getting to see what Laura is like as a little kid, because I mean, a lot of what she really wants when, you know, she goes off and becomes a Satanist is basically what she had as a little kid, of she just gets to wander around in nature and make salads, and while she is kind of she's kind of got her dad to be responsible for, which, like, that's the justification for how she's able to go so long without ever getting married, is that, you know, she's doing the thing that unmarried daughters do of taking care of her father. But it's interesting to me that taking care of her father doesn't seem to weigh her down the way the rest of her family does.
Well, no, and I think that ties directly into the crux of it, because she is daddy's girl. She
absolutely is. Like, her dad always wanted a daughter, and her and is it her grandfather who always wanted a granddaughter, or always wanted a daughter? I remember that.
No, it's the dad who's always wanted a daughter.
Yeah.
And you know, she ends up, like, not going to school, even, like, to the extent that it was expected for girls to go to school at the time, because her mom's like, I don't really want to, because I don't want to be a part of any of this. And dad is like, that's great, she's around all the time. My daughter, who I'm really deeply into the idea of having a daughter who I can sort of have around and look at.
Yeah, he just, like, wants to appreciate her. Like, it's kind of weird. But, like, it doesn't come off as particularly creepy. He just thinks girls are nice.
What it actually comes off as is, if they had the terms for it at the time, gender trouble on the part of the dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Egg dad vibes.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was about to say that, too.
Or repper dad is a term I've also heard.
Just, her dad is just really into femininity, and, you know, if he can't do it himself, then he would like a daughter, please.
Yes, exactly. But
to give him credit, like, because Laura is not exactly your, you know, classic frilly daughter who, you know, he can do all of the super girly things, like, enjoy all the super girly things vicariously with, but he just kind of thinks she's neat.
Yes, yes, he's really great. And it's no wonder that she would rather stick around him than around the other inferior men who are hanging around, including her siblings.
Right, like, there's the guy who keeps coming around to court her, and she's like, oh, I guess he's bored too, and they have a bunch of conversations, and then she's like, what? Marriage? What? No, ew.
Yes. Something really classic about that. It's like the idea did not even occur to her for a split second.
Despite the fact, and I mean, you know, it's one thing in today's society where there's a lot more ambiguity around early stage dating, but, you know, this is an era where if a man is regularly showing up to talk one-on-one with an unmarried woman, I mean, there's only so many explanations for this.
The specter of the tism, speaking of things that they didn't have words for back in the day, is strongly floating around here.
Yes.
In addition to the gender
in both
stuff.
Laura and her father.
Yes, I would say so. But the way this comes back is, not only does she then almost lash on to another kind of, you know, dad type figure, the chicken guy, when she becomes a henwife for a little while, but she finds the ultimate father figure in Satan. At the end of the book, she's like, okay, I want to be an independent woman, but I also want to have a dad. And I want my dad to be
I think
Satan.
this is an interesting take on Satan, right? Because normally when you get Satan as a figure, he's supposed to be, you know, seductive, right? Like, he's the husband or the lover or whatever.
Yes.
But no, you're right. This is very much Satan is my dad.
Yeah. Because he's dropping wisdom on her, but she's also, like, you know, letting her argue with him, and, like, it's a sort of it's a playful, kind of like clearly affectionate relationship. And he's not scary in that way. She trusts him. And yeah, it's again like a startlingly personal take on it, even though in her whole conversation with Satan at the end of the book, where incidentally she's telling Satan what she thinks he ought to be.
Right.
She is molding him into what he should be for her, which includes like dad. It is like, you are for women, when what she means is you are for weird women. And specifically, you are for exactly my kind of weird women who are autistic and have daddy issues and really hate, being around her family and would rather be left alone most of the time.
Yes.
You, Satan, are for that kind of woman specifically.
Yes. And
all these other witches don't know shit about it.
And don't get me started.
Don't get me started on the warlocks.
Which, and in classic dad fashion, he, chases people off with wasps. But part of his job is to shoo away other annoying family members, which is what her dad did for her.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Keep the unwanted social expectations away.
I mean, just as far as I'm returning to the wasps because I do want to share a line that I really enjoyed, which is her nephew saying, "One has to offer marriage to a young woman who has picked dead wasps out of one's armpit."
She gets rid of him she gets rid of him by afflicting him with various curses and hexes.
Yes, and he stumbles into a wasp's nest, and this leads directly to him getting engaged to a woman named Pandora Williams.
The most 1920s flapper English name that has ever been said. But yeah, no, he's still her favorite nephew. Despite the fact that he's ruined her life by coming out here. She's not gonna do him any serious harm. She just wants him to go away, and if he can be happy.
But she drives him away partly by giving him a fiance, and
although there's also the there is absolutely her perspective on romance there too, because Pandora is like, oh yes, I'm in love with him, please don't leave me alone with him.
Right. Yes.
Can you imagine anything as awkward as being with somebody who you're in love with? Again, it's that sort of ew, cringe, no, kind of feeling.
I'm using the word cringe a lot. And well, I might, because it's not a simple concept. Cringe is essential. Cringe is a guidepost. For autists and normies alike. A way to shape the boundaries of your social existence, even of your personal identity, by defining what you are in opposition to what you aren't. This is particularly important if the rules of the world don't come naturally to you, if you have to divine them yourself, if you have to figure out what makes you cringe in the eyes of your peers in order to avoid the danger that comes with their ridicule. And the preferences and tastes you shape from those boundaries, either in line with what you perceive as normality or in opposition to it, become stronger and more self-defining and less flexible than they might be in people who are able to socialize themselves more easily. In some people, this leads to a powerful sense of right and wrong. In some, to obsessive scrupulosity, and in some, to inflicting the abuse they were subjected to onto others. And in some, to feeling personally attacked if you say something mean about Star Wars.
Well, and Laura has this thing about, why should Titus offer her marriage? Why should Pandora accept it? They had always been such friends.
This may be the ultimate curse, in fact, that I have put on him, and also maybe on Pandora also. Sorry, Pandora. Not mentioning what Pandora's box might be, how that might be affecting things. But
well, it's a bunch of disasters for mankind, and inside it contains hope for Laura.
Yes.
Just the fact that the thing that convinces Laura that she will go and visit is Pandora being like, you have no idea how awful it is being left alone with someone you love. Please.
Get in the car. We cannot be driven to the train station by ourselves. But like, I do think that one of my favorite parts of the book is just like the force with which Laura makes up her mind when she makes up her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Which again is it's kind of childlike, you know. It's kind of, I feel like there's a way in which Laura Willowes is a manic pixie dream girl for Satan specifically and for nobody else. Like she's like the perfect sort of, you know, unpredictable, exciting, you know, creative person. Also, as a middle-aged woman, which is great that she's like 43, you know,
Yes.
for the entire duration of all of the most interesting and like, you know, and crazy parts of the book.
Well, partly because she can't get away with doing all of this until she is so firmly past marriage, even to, you know, an older man.
Yes, that becoming a confirmed spinster unlocks these powers, which, you know, works very well with the witchiness of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she also has to be old enough to, you know, be a witch, a proper witch.
Yes.
But you know, like, but even before that happens, she does make up her mind very firmly. I mean, when she decides that she's going to move to London, because she's trying to get away from one branch of the family, yeah, it's not like nobody's happy about this. Not her, you know, not the family that she's leaving and not the family that she's moving in with. But they can't do anything about it because they have all these social rules about how you handle unmarried women.
This is true. Yeah.
I just
she's
really
like
enjoy
blithely,
that.
and she's blithely blind to that, as she is to, like, you know, she resents all of these strictures and is not really aware of, to the extent with which that the life that she wants to lead kind of depends on them. But again, you know, relatable, I feel.
Yes.
What was I talking about?
You were talking about her being a manic pixie dream girl for Satan himself.
Oh yes, I was talking about her being a manic pixie dream girl for Satan and himself. It's just like her. Oh yeah, no, it was because of like the way in which the plot of this book is like, okay, you know, 10 years of absolutely nothing, including like the Great War, which just sort of happens, you know. Her sister goes off and drives an ambulance in France, you know, which is like, A, cool, awesome. B,
I don't
still
think that's her sister. I think that's her niece.
her niece, right? Sorry. Her niece goes off and drives an ambulance in France, which, like, well, it just sort of happens in passing. And Lolly is like, well, still kind of cringe because of the whole patriotic, you know, married to this, you know, dingus thing that happens afterward. But like, years go by where Lolly is like, you know, head empty, you know, kind of like miserable, bored. Then a thought arrives and the world changes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great way to plot a book. And also a you know, because the book then ends up sort of mirroring her character, and her development in the way that it's structured. And also just like a really interesting view into this particular kind of person's head.
Yeah.
But what of the Chicken Man?
Do we want to talk about the Chicken Man? Is
Yeah,
there
let's
anything
talk a
interesting
little
about the
bit.
Chicken Man?
I
He's sort
don't
of
know. I mean,
a token good man kind of a
yeah,
feeling.
he is our token good man. Though I mean, like, until he shows up, Titus the nephew is. But then he shows up and visits, and then he decides to move to be closer to her, and then he stops being the token good man. I mean, the Chicken Man, I think, is mostly just a sign of, again, what she wants out of other people, which is to like them, but only to engage with them exactly on her own terms and exactly in the quantity that she wants.
Yes, and I did want to talk about her like relationship with the landlady in that as well, where it's like, you know, and if the quantity that she wants is not enough, that's also a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But like she really wants to engineer her relationship with, again, you know, somebody who's cleaning up after her to the point where they have exactly the right amount of like, you know, cordial social conversations and not a bit more or less. And it is in fact one of the things that Titus's arrival does is unbalances that. But I was wondering if there was going to be a frisson there because like I know what podcast that we're doing. No, probably not. I don't think it would
Frisson
occur to
between
her.
her and her landlady.
Yeah.
No, because Laura, for all of her, unconventionalness, is a little bit shallow. The only frisson we get is with the woman who's like in her early 20s and
whose tits are essentially out. Yeah,
whose tits are out and who's not very bright. Who I think the first thing we hear about Emily is that she's been fired for pouring hot water on a mouse.
Right. This fiery Celtic woman who's ended up here somehow.
But, like, she's not even fiery. She's good-naturedly trying. She's like, oh, no, a mouse. I'd better deal with this by pouring hot water on it. In, like, a bookshop or what? In, like, a man's study.
Yes. That reminds me of another, speaking of men, like, another thing that I wanted to talk about was the guy who plays the role of Satan at the Sabbath.
Oh, yes.
who's wearing this sort of, who minces around and is wearing this sort of mask. Which again, like, brings me to like, oh, we're interrogating the gender disruptions and the queerness that can be found in this Bloomsbury circuit.
Whenever someone minces, you got to sit up and take notice.
Yes, he has these weird feminine movements, and she's immediately like, nope, that's not the kind of transgression that I'm interested in at all. No, thank you. And later when she's talking with Satan, she's like, who was that guy? And he's like, oh, that guy sold his soul so that he could be the center of attention at parties. He's just showing off with his like, Byronic, sort of feminine glam rock, attraction for these rubes. Don't worry about him. He's not actually special.
It is so interesting that this book is basically entirely devoid of like anything even slightly sexy except the dance, where you suddenly get all of it. You get the tingling and you get the mincing and you get, the woman who dances and her feet are as nimble as a tongue.
Yeah, and it's like, I think this is entirely on purpose because we're checking off things about witches, right?
Right.
Because this story is also doing, or I think partially recapitulating, partially interrogating, however you want to think about it, particularly given the time that it was written, this idea of, the importance of representation in big letters and the stories that one can fit oneself into. One cannot imagine a social role for oneself that one has not, experienced or read somewhere, which is why it's so important to write, X character into Y story, which I think that we've all gotten a little bit jaded with.
Yes.
At this point. But this book is like, well, the only idea, like, as somebody who has educated herself entirely by reading, the only idea that I have where there is a story where I might have a place in it is the witch story.
Right.
That is the only thing that appeals to me even remotely is the witch narrative. And thus I must, we sort of check the boxes. Like, I'm going to be into herbs and tinctures and potions, and I'm going to, be resentful and do like, curses and cackling magic against people who annoy me. But also there's the, as Terry Pratchett says, where the witches' Sabbath, where we dance around in the all together.
Which they don't in this case, because
this
is still, from the 1920s, but
right. But that's what's being, the orgiastic, like, salaciousness of it is what's being referenced and brought up, and so she has to process that, and the fact that she herself is like, nope. That is of no interest to me personally, actually, which I think, despite her passing interest in the fiery redhead, there's probably more of an ace reading here than ace/arrow reading here than anything else.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a much stronger arrow ace reading. Though again, like, to the extent that she's interested in anyone, it's women, but only at this witch's Sabbath. So.
Yes.
Well, you can keep your sacre du printemps. I didn't come here for some sweaty romp. If Satan's gay, then he can go kick rocks. And I don't care what's in Pandora's box.
But, we have to deal with that part of the story too. And obviously, and on a broader scale, if we're going to go to the, we're talking to Satan bit, if we're going to talk about the idea of feminism, which this book is interested in talking about, we also, lesbianism comes with feminism. It's been part of the conversation since there has been feminism. Is, do women need men? Do fish ride bicycles? Is it a political thing? To what degree does this, do I want like this kind of companionship? Can there be this kind of companionship outside of normative heterosexual structures, et cetera, and conveniently for Laura, she doesn't, so she doesn't have to worry about it.
Right, like as we can establish that she would rather be dancing with a pretty girl than anyone else. You keep calling her a fiery redhead, but like Emily is not fiery. She's supposed to, I think, be kind of slow and stupid.
Okay. The town slut.
But like if she was going to be interested in anyone, it's her. And and she admires Mrs. Leake's dancing.
This is true.
I guess my point is that I think that the strongest reading of Laura is definitely Arrow Ace, but there's definitely one of those things where it's like, well, she's Arrow Ace, but but she might still kind of identify as a lesbian today.
Yeah.
Certainly, like depending on the social circumstances, or she might not.
It's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm Arrow Ace, but I'm going to be much more offended by the idea that I might end up with a man,
right?
Than that I might end up with a woman. Like, why is that even a thing that you're possibly considering?
Right. This is why, even though, again, I think she's a better example if you're looking for Arrow Ace Satanist representation than anything else. But
if you are as specific in your interests as Laura herself and are interested in Arrow Ace Satanist representation in 1920s fiction, good news.
Good news. There's a book out there for you. But it's. I still think part of why I do think that this belongs on the podcast is that there's definitely sort of the people she doesn't date are women.
Yeah, 100%.
The tiny fleeting tingles only ever seem to happen with women, versus men. She finds the idea of any kind of real intimacy with men actively repulsive.
Well, I think that there is one thing that this book left me with that we haven't discussed yet, which is that I think we need to do Orlando on this podcast.
Yes, no, I also took away from this book that we should do Orlando, so I guess we're doing Orlando.
Because I think it's totally it totally fits the remit.
Anyway, so weirdly, surprisingly, mainline Willowes.
Yeah.
From the 1920s.
And let's just wrap up the episode with Satan.
We didn't really talk much. We didn't talk that much about like Satan as a wizard figure, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, I mean to tie it back with like Willowes, it's very much the like what does my desire for this sort of power and like recognizing even at the time the costs that come for it. Like she knows that she's kind of bad, like he is Satan after all. We're not going like Satan is the good one actually here.
Right. I think that's I really just appreciated that. It's not even Satan is the good one. And it's not even like, oh, he's not evil. He's just a figure of freedom and rebellion. The way that, again, modern Satanists, I think, often try to recast him. This is much more, no, the only way that I can be myself in society is to side with evil.
Yeah, and like specifically the spirit of rebellion, which is, textually part of the satanic, myth, is turning against your family, turning against your parent on Satan's part. And Laura really likes her dad, so that's a different story. But I think that she is aware that like even that she's not restructured the moral universe in such a way where like essentially just hating and resenting her entire family is a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
She feels that hate and resentment and knows that there is something about it which is dark, and that there is this darkness inside her, but it is what she is, and so she has to accept it, and therefore, might as well make a pact with Satan about it.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of why it's great that the other Satanists are so cringe and that she doesn't like them, is that it helps undermine. This is not cool Satan.
I mean, he's sort of a little bit cool at the end.
He's a little bit cool at the end, but even then, he's not actually disavowing all the incredibly, cringy people that she had to go to a really awkward dance with.
No.
Like, she's trying to be like, no, you need to be cooler, Satan. And he's like, you're real boss. For somebody who sold her soul to me, you're real bossy.
And you have a point. Like, what he is at the end is he is the gardener on this incredibly, what she finds to be this incredibly cringy and overdone, satanic garden plot, which is, being kept up by this guy's will, but is like, she interprets it as being kept up so he can be an eternal laughingstock.
Right.
It's like she's very, very invested, particularly for somebody who, and again, I find this extremely relatable, as a sort of person who is like, who has that autistic disdain for society. She's really invested in what is and isn't cool. Mm-hmm. Which I think that you get when you're trying to navigate being in the world, and trying to figure out what the rules are when you're a kid, when it's not coming naturally to you. But no, like Satan is literally tending a monument to cringe during this conversation.
Right.
At the end. And so like, there's a point she's trying to reclaim him, but maybe she's not being super successful about that.
No comparisons with modern Satanism expressed or implied.
Right. And like, and he's sort of he's indulging her, but at the same time, he's like, wow, you're sure bossy.
Yeah. I like it. I think this is a great little book.
I think so too. I feel like, honestly, this is a bit of a lost classic and deserves more attention.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably a good note to leave it on.
Absolutely. All right. And next time we'll do something completely different.
Yeah, as is our want.
All right. Thanks, everyone.